Hi there, I'm Margot Freitag. Welcome, and I have a question for you. How can every female body since the beginning of time be wrong? Have you noticed that the mainstream approaches to beating menopausal symptoms and midlife weight gain basically leads you to believe that your body is wrong, that your body's defying you? There's this notion that we have to fix or correct what our body's doing, like when our body is trying to downregulate hormones like estrogen, we are told that we'll get some relief if we take them. Now, that's true, but what if I told you that there are places in the world where women don't even have a word for menopause because they don't experience the typical struggle with weight gain or symptoms that tend to derail us? I'm Margot Freitag, and I'm happy you're here. I'm a functional nutritionist, a mindset and personal leadership coach and teacher. I'm a personal trainer with a background in physical therapy and massage therapy and remedial exercise and medical treatment. And I struggled with my weight and my health for a few decades, actually, starting around the age of 12. So I completely relate if you are struggling. And right now I want to share some thoughts with you and offer a little guidance around not only weight loss in midlife, but preserving and even restoring our health and beating menopausal symptoms. And how I've been able to do this by doing things a little bit differently than what we're typically told, like, those typical high protein, low carb, and HRT approaches. So you may have noticed that we're told that if we don't replenish those estrogen stores, we're at a risk for osteoporosis, dementia, cancer, heart disease, etc. And yet, if you take a look at the side effects of some of the therapies that are encouraged during this time of life, all of these same conditions are listed: heart disease, depression, bone changes, cancer, hormone-related cancers, heart disease, stroke, pulmonary embolism, which are blood clots in the lungs. So I want you to know today that you don't have to believe the menopause myth. Hormonal change is not your body defying you, and you don't have to suffer with debilitating symptoms or struggle to lose weight. The downregulation of hormones is actually protective, and we just don't need these levels of hormones anymore. So there are cultures in other parts of the world where women don't experience menopausal symptoms at all. And some of these places are where women live to their 100th year and beyond without any chronic disease, cognitive decline, or menopausal symptoms, and no weight gain. In these regions, there isn't even a word for menopause. So why do we have such intense symptoms and this increasingly difficult struggle with weight here in the Western world? Well, I'd like to talk to you about one of the reasons today. There are several, but today I'm going to share with you why eating a high protein diet is actually not the best strategy, even though everybody is telling you it is. But before we get into that, if you subscribe to my channel, you'll make my day. And if you haven't already, I encourage you to watch my masterclass if you want to find out a little bit more about what makes weight loss so difficult during midlife and what you can do about it. So just click the link in the description and have a listen. Also, if you'd like to hop on a call to see if I can help you, you can click that link in the description to book a call as well. Okay, so why do we struggle so much with our weight and other symptoms in midlife here in the Western world? All right, so right now I want to do a little bit of a deep dive with you today about high protein, low carb approaches to weight loss during this time of life and how they are not only ruining your health, but they are making your symptoms worse. There are a myriad of reasons why animal protein intake is not a great idea, but today I'm going to share just three. I'm going to talk about three things and specifically how they relate to women in midlife. Number one is fat. We don't typically think of fat when we think of eating protein, right? But you can't escape fat when you eat animal protein because of the phospholipid bilayer of every single cell in an animal. So the cell wall in all animal protein, all animal flesh, is largely made up of fat. So why is that a problem? Well, it's a problem because fat is not only a storage area for hormones and other toxins, but fat actually produces its own estrogen-like hormone. And animal estrogens wreak havoc on women who are already struggling during this time of life. Animal estrogens actually have effects on us, like acting like hormone disruptors and intensifying menopausal symptoms. But that's not the worst part. Animal estrogens are obviously going to impact us because we're animals. but they impact our health in ways that we should be avoiding. Excess estrogen puts us at risk for cancers of the breast, ovaries, and other cancers. Why? Because cancerous tumors in these areas of the body are often estrogen dependent. Now, foods that are high in animal estrogen are, first of all, number one, eggs. Makes sense, right? They're produced in the ovaries. Secondly, dairy products, especially higher fat varieties like cheese and cream, because fat is storage for estrogen, and cows have been modified, I don't know how, but they've done it, so that they can be milked throughout their entire pregnancy. An end-stage pregnancy cow milk is 55 times higher in estrogen than non-pregnant cow milk, which is already high in estrogen. And they pool all that milk together, so you are, rest assured, getting a ton of estrogen when you consume cow milk. Now, there's another thing to consider, and that is the ratio of milk to cheese. It takes about 10 parts milk to make 1 part cheese. And that means if, for example, you have 10 cups of milk, you get 1 cup of cheese. So the estrogen levels in cheese are high. Now, when it comes to meat, chicken has the highest levels of estrogen of all meat. Close seconds are beef, pork, and fish. And I want to talk about fish for a moment because there's a really interesting little caveat here. We always think of fish as the healthy animal protein to eat. But fish live in water that's usually contaminated, and they store a lot of toxins in their fat. And these toxins are called xenoestrogens. They usually come in concentrated forms of BPAs and pesticides, wastes, pharmaceuticals, and other toxins that are expressed like estrogens in the human body and attached to human estrogen receptors. Okay, number 2 is insulin-like growth factor. Circulating levels of insulin-like growth factor increase with animal protein intake. This growth factor is increased in direct proportion to animal protein levels. IGF-1 makes things grow quickly, and a great example of this is cow milk, because cow milk is really high in protein, so it increases levels of IGF-1 significantly in a calf. And that just makes sense because cow milk is intended to make a little baby calf into a great big animal in a short period of time. The downside of this is that cancerous tumors have IGF-1 receptors covering their surface, and IGF-1 can really stimulate the growth of cancer. All right, number 3, saturated fat and cholesterol. You cannot escape this when you eat animal protein. Why? Because cholesterol and saturated fat are both part of what makes up the phospholipid bilayer of every single cell. So that means when you eat even the leanest cuts of meat, you are still getting cholesterol and saturated fat, which is of course implicated in cardiovascular disease and dementia and all sorts of other things that we don't want. Now, here's the thing about cholesterol. You need it, but your body produces the exact amount that it needs. Now, here's the thing about estrogen and cholesterol. Estrogen works with the liver to regulate lipid metabolism or cholesterol levels. So when your body is down-regulating estrogen, it's very natural that you'll have to be down-regulating your cholesterol intake. Make sense? Of course. There's so much more to talk about here, but I think it's a good start to help you understand the importance of nutrition for women during midlife. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take good care.